Good morning and welcome to Equity Story Trade Watch, the 15th of July, Friday. So we're just at the end of the week, but big news awaits us with the China financial, economic details. So we'll see how that transpires. We're going to get that later today. That could affect our markets significantly. So we're going to probably be sitting on our hands and see how that goes. Before I start up, we've got the disclaimer in front of you, so please have a quick read through that. The just general advice only. Every stock we talk about is all about technicals and fundamentals only. All right, so what's making the news today? And I think yesterday, we're probably just going to quickly mention the unemployment rate, which hit about 3.5, which I think it's definitely points to a sign that the interest rates will probably keep rising. Which is, look, it's not a bad thing because that will probably mean the inflation might be contained a bit quicker because that's obviously one of the big problems that we've got at the moment. So overall, a good and a bad thing. And there is such a thing as having too low unemployment. And I think maybe we're probably, while we should be celebrating unemployment so low, in this sort of environment, it's maybe not so great. So we need, I think that maybe RBA and all the economists maybe wanted to push it up over four again, just to ease the pressure on inflation, because that is stoking inflation. We've got one part for sure that's driving that up. So we're expecting obviously interest rates to rise throughout the next maybe two months odd, which possibly could, obviously hit our markets here as well. However, saying that, we've seen the markets ourselves here, and especially in the tech stock, at least seem to have slowed down the falls that we've had previously. So maybe there is a perception that peak inflation has hit, and maybe we're going to look at some of these oversold tech stocks, and another part is falling, and that is their commodities, due to the fact that recession maybe is now the next big thing that we're going to have to worry about, right? So we've seen today, or overnight, we've seen plenty of falls in the commodities, iron ore, and so on. So actually, let's have a quick look. So I am actually going to change the screen again. I'm going to go to this screen right here, and we're going to look at commodities. As you can see, we've got lead down slightly, but it's down about 1% for the month. I think iron ore was the big hit, down to 106 now. We've had nickel down 1%. Down, you can see the monthly downs. It's a significant falls for the month. So we saw that commodities index yesterday. That's probably going to keep going, right? We're going to see those falls continuing. We're going to actually have a look at some iron ore players in a sec, and you see that it hasn't been a great time over the last month or so for the iron ore players, and they're probably going to head even lower. Interestingly enough, Rio Tinto came up with their quarterly. So let's have a look how they're actually trading. So we'll go switch back again to Rio, and we'll see how that's actually traveling. So let's put in Rio here. Oops. So let's put in Rio here again, and let's see how that's looking. So I'm going to change it back to so they come up with the quarterly, right? So they're talking about the numbers. Look, overall wasn't too bad. The fact is costs are growing. I mean, that's the key takeaways. The costs are going up. You can see they're going to get lower pricing for the iron ore and probably some other commodities. So that what we call it a crunch, right? We're going to call it a crunch for margins, where your revenues are probably going to slow down and you're going to get higher costs, which means lower EBITDA, lower profits, which potentially could mean lower dividends, right? And you can see the chart here is just showing exactly that's what's happening right now. We've got that cyclical, and we talked about the last few days that this looks like a pretty sharp, quick cycle. We've had a couple of those. Right there, we've got from 2021 back to now, or almost July, August, right, 2022. It's probably going to hold lower. That's the other thing. So if I can actually put it on a 10-year timeline, you can see what's going on here, and it's actually broken through all support on a weekly, and now it's probably going to head down on the next line of support, which is, we'll have a look at BHP as well, but you can see that's fairly ugly stuff, and it's very rapid, which is probably a good thing in a way. But you had that massive force here, right? So it can easily retest that, and I expect that to retest that, because that seems to have pretty strong support around that 87. But if the recession is prolonged, maybe iron ore keeps falling down below 100, we could easily see that maybe fall even down to that $80, right? So that's maybe my expectations at this stage, $80, with what I'm feeling is happening in this market with the commodities and inflation and the recession that we're possibly going to have. So untouchable at the moment, unfortunately, if you're a trader. Even, you know, trying to find the bottom, no, it's a falling knife. Let's wait to see at least some sort of, maybe some sort of, at least a couple of weeks of green shoots before we get into it. So let's have a look at BHP, which is the other one, and then we'll have a look at the others too. So BHP, similar. You can see that's broken all through. I know we've got this as a dividend play, right? And like I said, if you've got this as a dividend play, you've got to look at it differently, right? So I'm looking at on maybe a channel type investing. So I've got it, if I'm going to have a look at it, maybe I'm looking at between, say, 30 and 50 channel, right? If it breaks the 30, I'm out. 31, let's call it 30. Yeah, okay, let's call it 30, 32. If it goes below 32, I'm out completely, right? Because that's sort of like a channel here, right? It's building. If it can, and if it's $48, so if it's in that bracket, I'm still okay with a dividend. But if you're trading, you're completely out. You should be not trading this at all right now. All right, let's look at FMG. And again, you know, I'm just going to reiterate that the dividends that you're getting at the moment, they're under pressure. They're going to be under pressure with the falling iron ore price. These companies are not going to make as much profits as they used to. So they're going to cut the dividends 100%. They're not going to pay dividends out of the debt. All right, so we've got FMG here. And again, if you've got looking at dividends, you maybe look at this channel here between that and that. And I know it's a pretty big one, 25 to 14. But if you're collecting the dividends, then maybe this is what the strategy you might play with. But other than that, it breaks 14, you're out completely. Right, so you've got another couple of bucks to go. All right, let's have a look at CAA, which is one of the, of course, the iron ore plays that we love. But even that's being hit for sure. And like I said, you know, today's information from China could be key to seeing that even fall further if it's really bad. So just be wary. And like I said, if you're too worried about this, you've got to get out and find something else to play with. So this is fairly similar. They're not paying any dividends, but well, actually they have paid their dividends, but it's not a dividend payer, so to speak, as yet. But this is much, I suppose, for me, more risk involved than a RIO, BHP and FMG, and definitely not a trading stock at the moment. So we'll pass on that. All right, so what else is happening? We've had the US markets fairly flat, so there was not much direction. The markets are today is, of course, affected by the RIOs, BHPs, and financials today. So we're down heavily, not unexpectedly, but at least good to see the NASDAQ was fairly flat. So the companies that we're looking at, you know, they're trying to trade some little small tech stocks, still looking okay. So that's good for us, of course. This is exactly what we want to see. So let's have a look at some of these stories like we looked at yesterday. Good to see a little drop suite going okay. Let's have a look at that. And I've got it on the daily because, of course, remember, we're trading this on a daily if we are going to be trading this at all for you guys. So this one's above. That looks all right. Let's have a look at what else have we got there that we have been looking at. So let me see. BKGB, no, PTG, one other one we like. Let's see if there's any merit in there that maybe there's something. Oh, that looks starting to look interesting, isn't it? So maybe it's something we can look at for next week on that recovery. So take it from 30 cents. If it finishes about 30 cents, maybe you can take that from 30 cents to 36 cents on a recovery. They're coming up with their quarterly shortly. So that's going to be very interesting to see how they perform there. EnviroSuite, they released their update only a few days ago. So let's have a look how they are looking. Nope, not that one as yet. Let's have a look at what else we've got. SES, which we like. Let's have a look at that. All right, that's not working for me right now. Let's look at Premium. Premium is okay-ish. Needs a little bit more. Probably it needs to do a bit more, but it's still holding the chart, so that's pretty good. Let's have a look at what else we've got. And we've got MP1, I think, and we'll talk about MP1 in a sec, because there's a broker report out there saying, you know, there's actually a couple, and look, it's starting to look interesting, starting to get over those trend lines. So potentially, we could see this having a bit of a run from say 650 to $8, right? That's not a bad little gain. That's a 20% right there. So one to watch on your watch. It is definitely the tier 3, huge loss making, huge risk attached to it, but it can still run, of course. So one to watch. Let's look at ResMed. We had a look at that one as a potential alternative on the back of this increasing virus that's coming back, right? Next wave. So let's have a look. So that's looking pretty good on the daily. So we might be having a look at that one on Monday. Actually, on weekly probably look okay as well, because we looked at it earlier this week, didn't we? So yeah, look at that one. That one definitely for the end of the week. Let's see what else I can find here. Nitro. Let's see if that's got any merit to say yes, we could maybe look at it next week. So we've got Nitro. No, okay, that's Nitro's out for me. Let's look at another one, and we've got Phineos. We talked about that one. Is there some merit here? Yeah, not bad. It had that up, then had a pullback. It's having that swing again. So hopefully it's going to have one, come back and have another swing towards the $2. That's the hope, right? That's what you hope out of your stock if you are trading it. I know this is a risky situation. We talked about it, right? But we're going to be monitoring on an everyday basis. We cannot take our eyes off these things, because we could end up with an egg on our faces. So we've got to be very, very careful with some of these stocks. All right, so let's look at some of these announcements this morning. So let's see, because there was actually 2 or 3 upgrades, which was very interesting. So I want to go through them, and I want to see whether they actually, give us some opportunity to get into some of these stories, or at least trade them on a short-term basis. So let's start with OCL yesterday. So we had OCL come up with just an update to see how they're going, and I'll put that on so you can see what I'm looking at. So trading update yesterday. So it was too late for the video yesterday, but we're going to have a look through right now. Love this story. Probably one of the best stories on the ASX in the tech space. Group revenue grew by 12% to 106. That's pretty good. Talking about EBITDA increased by 20% to 30.6. That's nice. So they looks like they're increasing maybe their margins. Net profit after tax increased by 30% to 21. So look, overall, looks pretty good, right? The only problem is, and that's what maybe the market is just not reluctant to push this up. It's trading still on very, very high multiples. So if you look at this story, if this was trading on 15, 16 times, you'd be going, I'm buying this easy, right? Backing up the truck, I'm buying this for the long term because it's a fantastic. Unfortunately, this has got such high multiples that this growth isn't good enough for these high multiples. So we just got to wait, be patient. And I know, generally speaking, it's still got a good chart. We looked at it, as a possible little trade up where we can make a few bucks. Yep, I get that with a trade. But for a long-term investor, for a fundamental investor like me, when I know what the markets are like at the moment, where really there's not much buying or conviction in buying of the expensive stories or the stories that are not profitable, it's difficult. It's difficult to go against the grain, difficult to go where there is actually no flow. So I just got to be patient with objective OCL and wait for a better opportunity somewhere along the line, and hopefully it will present itself. I'm hoping we can get it closer to $10 than a $15. But look, anything's possible. I mean, this could trade on this high multiples forever, for all we know, right? So we just got to train it. But in this market, I'd rather wait, be patient before I get in on a long-term basis. For the short-term traders, yeah, if we looked at it, it looks decent, right, as possible trade. All right, let's look at the next one. So let's look at 5GG, see where this is at. So we're going to look at the chart and the actual announcement. 5GG, because another little WA stock that we really like. It had its obviously fall from grace. It was just too expensive. Had that FOMO move up from 20 cents. It's come back to some sort of levels. Renews its site license agreement with Exicom. That's good news for them. So if we go to the charts, overall, it doesn't look too well. Actually, the chart looks fairly poorish, but the actual fundamentals doesn't look too poor, right? So all in all, decent story with bad technicals. Are they good enough for a little trade? Let's have a quick look. If they work for us, of course. So let's have a look what's going on here. But if it's not working, I'll go to the next one. I'll come back to it in a sec. All right, so that's not working for us. So we'll go to the next one and we'll look at the next one down is JIN. This is an interesting one, I have to say, because they had a real big move up, right? Only recently, really big spike. They had I think, query from the ASX saying what's going on there. Lo and behold, a week later, they come up with a update on preliminary results. Now, when that's I think ASX query was out. See what we got here. So this is interesting. Let's go through it, because this is only a week ago, right? So where they've got here, no, the company is not aware of any information presented that has not been announced to the market, which, if known by some market, would explain the recent trading in its securities. I don't know about you, but someone's obviously knew something and spilled the beans to someone, right? Because they come up with an update on preliminary a week later. You can't tell me that you just put your hand in the sand and then, no, we don't know nothing. Of course you did, because you've just come out a week later. You were working on this, not on the day. You were working this probably for a few weeks now on this update. So rubbish, I'd say. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The thing is that they come up with the preliminary result right here, right? And look, it looks decent, right, across the board. You've got expects preliminary FY22 group underlying results up, TTV up 36%, revenue up 27%, EBITDA up 14%, underlying APAT 16%. So all in all, looks okay. But how is the market taking this? So this is going to be the interesting one for us. Is this a trade? Is this a long-term buy? Where are we at with this? Well, let's have a look. The market wasn't too happy. That's for sure. Now, the question is, why? I think the expectation is one, right? That maybe just wasn't good enough, because you can see the spike last week went to 17 and now it's down to 13. So someone was spilling the beans. The beans got mixed up, or Chinese whispers got mixed up. It went high, but then it's okay, hang on a second. No, let's reverse course. And we're going down instead. Definitely untouchable. This is a really bad candle right here. You don't want to touch it. Let's just see how this settles. Even though there, it looks decent information and so on. This is a story for me that really is reliant a lot on these jackpots in the lotteries business. So while, overall, it is okay. When you've got outside influences that you can't control, like the jackpots, then your business is really high risk for me. So yeah, pass for me, and especially with this red candle, pass completely. All right, let's go to the next one, WTC. I'm going to look at the chart first, and then we talk about the actual upgrades. I mean, WiseTech, you got to give it to them, right? They always come up with something positive. I don't think they've all come up with anything negative. So it's almost getting to the stage of, for next week, it looks like maybe a trade here coming up, but I think it needs to finish above, for me, maybe above 45 before I get excited. Maybe the hound will give it the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe we can take it from that 44 to 50, especially on a upgrade. Let's have a look at this upgrade, right? So from at least that point of view, that looks decent. So if you're in this, you're holding it. Would I be buying it? No, it's jumped above there, but I don't like this little candle here. It's actually, there's a little bit of, it's up 4% or 5%, but it's not a strong 5%, because if you look at the upgrade, right, let me go back and we'll talk about WTC. Oops. Let's put this in. And there's one thing here that really bothers me, right, with this upgrade. And I know I haven't had a great relationship with WiseTech, because I just think that, the acquisitions, it's not my cup of tea of growing your earnings, but, it's got upgrades FY22 guidance, but it's not a great upgrade, because it's not upgrading its revenues, it's upgrading its EBITDA, which tells you two things here. Where are they getting this upgrade from, right? What are they squeezing to get this upgrade from, especially when an inflationary world? So if they're not increasing their revenues, where are they squeezing? Costs are going up. We know that, right? So I'm sort of just trying to find out exactly where this improvement is happening. And I know they can maybe get some efficiencies out of the businesses and so on, but this is really pretty strong upgrades here. So, how much can they push this? I don't know. I mean, this is starting to make it even more risky for me. I have to say, if we had at least some sort of upgrade in the revenue side of things, I can understand, right? You're getting more revenues, you can maybe squeeze out a little bit on the bottom line, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, where are they squeezing it? I don't know. Anyway, look, give them some credits. However, I am a little bit skeptical where they're getting these upgrades from, because it's, yeah, I know they're going about cost efficiencies, but the costs are actually going up. So what are they doing? I don't know. I mean, they've got a magic some wand somewhere that they can actually do it while others can't. Anyway, I'll pass it to the keeper. I'm not going to touch this. I know it's probably one of those market darlings, so good luck to anyone's holding it because it's still a hold technically. So for me, pass, and I want to see how it actually comes up in August before I do anything else. So anyway, let's go to the next one. We had a look at RIO, but actually let's have a quick look at RIO's numbers because they were interesting reading anyway. So we talked about it that you certainly wouldn't be touching it right now. But production results weren't that bad. Like I said, you know, you look at the numbers here from the first quarter to the second quarter, mostly positive, right? On the 2021, yeah, okay, pretty mixed, but on the first quarter, it's actually up. It's that probably the numbers they're getting, right? The actual costs, that's what's probably going to hit them. So even though they're going to produce more iron ore, because their iron ore went up from 130 something in April to right now just over 100, that's a big 30% fall. So that's going to hit them, you know, and probably top and bottom line. So watch the squeeze. It certainly wouldn't be touching it right now. All right, let's move on to the next one. We've got, well, actually probably the last one I want to talk about, and that's MEK, because I know somebody, you know, I've talked about MEK as a little play, right? It's actually gone into the trading hold. Talking about possibly some interesting results. Now, I did mention that this could possibly a very cheap little gold play. And I know the gold is not trending at the moment, but anyway, I've had a couple of queries saying, can I buy this for the long term, put it in the bottom drawer if we like it and it's cheap and you've got the, you know, you've got the positive view on it over the longer term? Yes, you can, but you've got to be wary that possibly it might go lower before it goes up, right? If they keep coming up with decent results and improve the resource and maybe grades, and then they have some sort of a positive PFS, right? But anyway, this is what interests me. I want to see what these results are like. So on the second page here from Mika, they're saying, company recurs to trading hold immediately pending a release of an announcement regarding material results from exploration activities. So I am very intrigued. I'm presumably this is from Turnberry. This is the one that's we are actually quite interested in, because if we can get to 1 million ounces, we got a serious player on our hands as a new gold play, right? At 50 million market cap, that looks cheap. So let's have a look in a couple of days on Monday or Tuesday what they're going to come up with here. But it's of interest to me for sure. All right, now let's move on to something else, and that is have a look at some F1 Arena upgrades, downgrades to see what's going on there, because that's always interesting too. So let's have a look through there. And I want to go through a couple of things here. So I've got one that I thought was quite interesting, and no, that wasn't there. Hang on, I'll get down to it. CSL was overweight, we talked about yesterday, but from yesterday, DTL was 589 price target, which price was 532, so it wasn't too bad. So they liked that result. But if I go down further, there was a couple like MP1 we wanted to talk about, right? So there it is. Outperform and the price target of $16, and the current price is 670. So Macquarie is still extremely bullish. Interesting, isn't it? But that's what I'm saying. There's maybe merit that it could go up from that $6 something to $8 as a trade, just on the back of that, fairly easily. We've seen 360 had a pretty strong run in a week, so it can easily be done. Let's have a look at net wealth. Another one came up with their results. Outperform 1570 price targets, fairly positive, I suppose, with a 13 current price, and Morgan's got a hold on that with a 15, so a couple of 15s in there. Let's have a look at OZL, and OZL, of course, remember I said no, do not touch it. It could go down to $10. So I think they pretty much agree with me. Underperform, understandably, they've actually got the price targets. One is at 13. Morganson is quite high on that one at 18.10, which is fair enough. They can have any opinions they want. Pilbara, wow, Macquarie is pretty strong on these. Current price 245, price target of 420. They're also talking about that impressive 168, sorry, 6188 price they got for the auction on the lithium. They were selling their spodumene cargo. So that was a nice thing for them. So that's why maybe that Macquarie is quite bullish on them. Plus, of course, they've got maybe higher assumptions on their books. And I think there was one more I want to have a quick look through, and then we'll let it go. No, that was it, actually it. So all in all, if you go back to what's actually happening on the market again, I'll share the screen again on Reuters so you can see the market's actually down right now. Let's see, where was it? There we go. We've got XJO down 102 points. That is very, very heavy. And like I said, it's on the back of your RIOs, BHBs, because they are very strong players on our thing. And this is just weighing on the market. So let's actually have a look, charting wise, on the XJO, just to see where we're heading at the end of the week, where we're actually heading with that. Now, don't forget to join me for Ask the Analyst at 12. We're going to discuss, of course, a lot of stocks, see where we're at and where we might be heading. And if you've got any queries regarding your story that you might have, definitely probably time to. So this is just Amica. You can see it's actually trending above, which is quite nice. But anyway, let's have a look at XJO. And that's probably, see how it's had a bit of a bounce last 3 weeks. That's reversing course by the looks of things, right? This is on the back of falling commodity prices 100%, and because we are so top heavy on RIO, BHBs, you name it, right? So potentially, if that keeps falling, we could retest at 6,500 and then 6,400. So not great news for us, even though maybe our economy is not as bad as some of the others, where we've got a really low unemployment. Maybe our inflation is not as bad as some other places around the globe. So we'll see how we play. But right now, caution still the word. We're still going to just be playing those little tech stocks. Hopefully they have a good night in the US overnight, and we'll see where we take it from there. So I would not be changing my tack from the tech stocks. I'm still holding firm on that. Maybe we can make a couple of backs back next week, and we'll take it from next week again, almost like a fresh page, right? So good luck for us for Friday. Please, 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 NASDAQ behave itself on Friday. Like I said, please join me on Ask the Analyst at 12, and have a great weekend. If I don't see you again on Monday. Cheers.